Welcome to this new automotive news video for Tuesday, April 7, 2026. Today we're going to talk about Renault, which has confirmed that the production and sale of one of its most popular models will soon come to a permanent end. We'll also talk about a new problem affecting the Jaguar brand, as its electric vehicles are showing a new reliability issue. We'll discuss Stellantis, which plans to change how it sells cars in France, but also about another betrayal by Audi of its employees, as the brand is trying to find a new scheme to bypass agreements that had been made with its workers, allowing it to speed up the waves of layoffs planned at the Renault brand. We're also talking about Toyota, which has revealed the prices of its new BZ4X SUV. Before that, here's another news story related to the current automotive saga, namely the cost of fuel. While we learned early this morning that Total was ending its price freeze at its gas stations, we actually learned two things at noon. The first is that Total is maintaining the price freeze until at least the end of April 2026 with unleaded gasoline at 1.99 euros per liter and diesel at 2.25 euros. So a little more expensive than before the end of the first freeze. The second thing is that Total took the opportunity to confirm that its customers who benefit from its Fuel Advantage service will be able to enjoy frozen fuel prices at least until the end of 2026. And that's in all Total stations in France, including highway stations. The big question is, how can you get access to this fuel advantage? For that, you need to have an electricity or gas contract with Total Energy, be a member of the Total Energy Club loyalty program, and request this fuel advantage because it's not automatic. Now we're going to move on to the topic mentioned at the start of this video. I hope you'll find it interesting, and if that's the case, as usual, I'm counting on you to show your support. For that, you can leave a like on this video, boost it to improve its ranking, subscribe for future videos, and of course, leave a comment where you share your opinion on today's news. As I was saying, we're going to start by talking a bit about Renault, which has confirmed that one of its most popular models, the Renault Espace, will be permanently discontinued. So we don't know exactly when yet, but what we do know is that the current generation of the Espace, which has been on sale since 2023 and was restyled in 2025, will apparently be the last one. This is a decision that Renault reportedly made for two reasons. The first is that the minivan segment, which the Renault Espace used to be part of, is crashing. Most customers who are looking for a large vehicle now prefer to buy SUV-type vehicles. By the way, Renault had understood this for several years since its current Espace is no longer a minivan, but rather a crossover SUV. The problem is, Renault already has plenty of SUVs in its lineup. And clearly, 7-seat SUVs aren't what sell best. For example, in France, in 2025, Renault only sold 8,600 Espaces. That's not a lot. And especially, its new Espace is already on a downward trend, since the 2025 sales of the Espace are 20% lower than those of the same Espace in 2024. So it's not selling very well, and since Renault is in a cost-cutting mode, which is what they've made clear with their new Future Ready plan, we know that in the medium term, they're going to end the CMF-CD platform, which is the base platform for the Renault Espace. And as of today, Renault is not developing a new platform for the future that would accommodate a 7-seat vehicle. Since in the end, the 7 seats are the only real difference of this Espace compared to the other SUVs from the brand, not planning new platforms that can accommodate such a vehicle. This basically indirectly confirms that the 6th generation Espace, the current Espace, will very likely and most probably be the last in its long line. I also wanted to talk to you about Toyota, which has just revealed the prices of its new SUV, the BZ4X Touring. The BZ4X Touring is simply an extended version of the BZ4X SUV. In fact, it's 14 cm longer at 4.83 meters and also slightly taller at 1.67 meters, which is 2 cm more. The advantage of this Touring version is that it offers much more space on board, especially storage space compared to the standard version. The Touring version has 619 liters of trunk space, while the standard version has 452. So that's quite an increase. As for the powertrain, the BZ4X Touring will come with a 74 kW lithium-ion battery. The long-range version with 224 horsepower and front-wheel drive features a front motor and offers up to 591 kilometers of WLTP range, with fast charging that can reach up to 150 kWh on DC power. So the charging speeds and range are pretty much in line with the current market average. There will also be a larger version coming out later, which will be all-wheel drive and have up to 380 horsepower. Now, the question is, how much does it cost? Here are the prices. The Touring version starts at 48,400 euros. Long-range version, the performance version, on the other hand, will start at 51,900 euros. So it's not badly positioned compared to the competition, but it's not especially well positioned either. Let me remind you that at Tesla, a Model Y costs 45,400 euros. So that's $3,000 less for 100 km more range and 100 km faster charging speed. And what's more, in terms of storage space, if I'm not mistaken, a Model Y, including the frunk, has a total of 850 liters, We'll see if it sells well against the competition. He still has one more thing to say about this BZ4X Touring. It's that with this price of over 48,000 euros, it's too expensive to qualify for the CRE, since the CAE, the electric car bonus, can only be claimed for an electric vehicle that costs 47,000 euros or less. Toyota is aware of this as they offer commercial deals in France, such as lease-to-own options, which may not suit everyone. But under the Aloha plan, Toyota is offering a 5,000 euro discount on the long-range version, which then starts at 43,400 euros. I also wanted to talk to you about Audi, since the company's management is basically trying to pull a fast one on its workers. Audi is a brand that, over the past 23 years, really hasn't been in great shape. The company knows this very well. That's why they're looking to get rid of 7,500 employees by 2029. There was an agreement that had been reached with the local workers' unions, the goal of which was to force Audi to stick to this schedule. In other words, not to speed up the layoffs, but also to invest 8 billion euros in these German factories to modernize production there, but above all, to guarantee at least a minimum level of production. The problem is that Gernot Dollner, who is the CEO of Audi, implied this in a recent conference. That, despite the agreements that had been reached, it was entirely possible that Audi, as well as the Volkswagen Group, would implement new cost-cutting measures, including further staff reductions if necessary. Obviously, these remarks caused a lot of concern among the people there. The workers who have already agreed to planned departures are wondering what will happen to them in the coming weeks, especially regarding the German plant in Neckarsulm. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but my apologies if it's not. It's a site where Audi used to produce its top-end models, especially the Audi A8. As we mentioned earlier in a video, the A8 has ended, and Audi hasn't found a successor yet. And that's something the workers didn't know when, in March 2025, these agreements were made. So they feel doubly betrayed, and are now asking Audi to guarantee production on site in Neckarsulm, and that if one day Audi plans a replacement for the Audi A8, whether it's electric or has a combustion engine, it should be fully manufactured there. In that same factory, we'll see what happens. Will Audi give in and lay people off faster than what was agreed? Or will they stick to the agreement that was made? We'll see in the coming weeks. As for Jaguar, even though they've stopped selling cars in 2025, they still have to deal with reliability issues. And that's tough luck for Jaguar, who wants to become a 100% electric brand. It's on these already marketed 100% electric cars that a new reliability issue has come up. This concerns the I-Pace, which, besides being very ugly, is now subject to a recall. Battery overheating issue. The good news is that since the I-Pace wasn't really a commercial success, Jaguar doesn't have that many to recall. It's these 26,000 units produced in 2021 that are going to be recalled all over the world. This overheating issue can lead to a vehicle fire. And what's quite incredible is that for now, Jaguar hasn't found a solution to this problem. They know a recall is needed, but aren't sure how to fix the vehicles. However, this will likely change in the next few weeks. In the meantime, Jaguar has sent an email to its customers asking them 3 things. The first is to limit battery charging to 90%, which should reduce the risk of overheating and therefore fire. To charge the car only outdoors, and most importantly, to park it outside, away from buildings. Let me tell you, if you bought an I-Pace hoping to charge it at home to save a bit of money, for now, you're a bit out of luck. Just as a reminder, it's not the first time there have been problems with the I-Pace. In 2023, Jaguar recalled 7,000 I-Paces for similar issues. At the beginning of 2026, there was another recall for the same problem. And the kicker is that in November 2024, when Jaguar had to recall 2,700 vehicles produced in 2019 for the same problems and couldn't come up with technical solutions, so they had to offer to buy back the I-Pace from customers at the original purchase price. By the way, speaking of buying cars, let's talk a bit about Stellantis, which wants to completely change the way it sells its cars in France. This especially means the end of the Stellantis showroom project. So it's not just about that, but indeed, Stellantis wanted to set up Stellantis showrooms, a kind of supermarket where you could buy almost any car from the Stellantis group, from almost any brand. In the end, Stellantis' sales strategy is changing completely, since the group wants to give more visibility, a stronger identity, and more character to its brands by limiting the number of Stellantis group brands that can be sold within the same space. This will happen in France and across Europe, as confirmed by Citroën CEO Xavier Chardon. He also confirmed that it would be possible to keep 2 brands in a dealership, but that it would no longer be possible for a distributor to offer, in the same location, both Jeep, Fiat, Lancia, Alfa Romeo, or Peugeot, Citroën, Leapmotor, DS automobiles. Stellantis confirmed that distributors had often invested hundreds of thousands or even millions of euros to modernize their dealerships in recent years. In the hope precisely of creating showrooms, Stellantis dealers will not be forced to backtrack for the moment, but it will be required of others. especially distributors who own several dealerships in the same regions and who have multiple licenses allowing them to sell several Stellantis group brands to clearly differentiate the different brands from one dealership to another. And you, what do you think? Is this a good way to boost Stellantis group brand sales? Or does it seem unimportant to you as a customer? Share your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, we've reached the end of this video. I hope you found it interesting. If that's the case, I'm counting on you to show your support by leaving a like, subscribing for future videos, and maybe supporting the channel via the join button. See you tomorrow for the next one. Ciao!